All right, Joe, let's get into it. Let's talk about what it takes to make an awesome employee experience. For all the time that I've known you, you're often preaching about employee experiences. Why is it so important to you?
Kyle, I think it's because we're seeing a cultural shift, right? Before joining HCL Software, I spent 15 years in working, in consulting, digital agencies, and we were all focused on creating these beautiful, rich customer experiences. Well, those customers are out there, experiencing those, and they're coming to work, and they're not having the same experience, right? They're dealing with the Link Farm from 2006. And when you see that, we just want to be able to help improve the experience for the employee, but you also want to help the outcomes that they're driving and the business outcomes. And that's really the critical part of this. It's about a better employee experience, but it's also about better outcomes.
Right, but that's not the only reason, right? You often talk about data and this idea of data as a currency. Why is that so important to employee experiences?
Yeah, kind of think back to what I just said. We're talking about creating these experiences, and if you think about it from a customer experience, they're often personalized, relevant data, right on time, et cetera. All that's coming from the data that they're collecting about your experience. Well, those technologies that are running those sites are actually available and running intranets. They're just not being used, and the companies aren't using the data to be able to create those experiences. And that's what we're trying to do. When we talk to customers and we talk about new experiences, we're talking about really at the end of it, creating a rich experience that's based on data. Now, if you do that, the outcomes that it drives, right, are positive both for the employee and the business. And that creates a currency with the data. And that's really that concept of data as a currency. When I think about it, we're talking about improving performance, right, for the employee and the business. I saw a study that came out, I think it was from Accenture, in which they looked at the S&P 500, and they looked at companies that focused on improving the employee experience. And what they found is that those companies outperformed the rest of the S&P by 122%. Now that's a tremendous performance and a tremendous impact. All you got to do is spend a little bit of time improving that overall employee experience. And that's what we're trying to do. Think of yourself, right? The average employee. Why do you go to the internet? What are you using it for, right? What are some of those use cases?
Right, well, first of all, number one, I just want to do my job better, right? And then you think about it, search, right? How much time do we spend searching? Searching for HR policies, travel guidelines, so on and so forth, right? And then it's about contributing as well, right? As you know, right, I'm one of the senior team members, and often with new employees, they're coming here trying to learn, get up to speed quickly, all the rest of that. I can most efficiently help them by sharing with them what I know, and then letting them have access to that. And that really allows me to do my job faster and them get up to speed more quickly.
I mean, ultimately, what you're talking about is you want to do your job better and you want to further your career, which are not that uncommon with everyone else out there. Now, the key, though, is having the right platform. So when you think about it, what do you need in a platform to enable that?
It starts with engaging experience that we talked about earlier. There are 4 key capabilities that I think we need in an employee experience, in my humble opinion, right? First, it's about connecting employees with other employees that have similar interests and similar needs, right? Second, it's about a single point of access for all the applications that employees are trying to access, right? And it's going to be different for the Road Warrior versus the Back Office Pro, so it needs to be personalized. Next is about collaboration, right? You got to make it easy for those individuals to collaborate, to share, and to discover. All of that drives data points around interactions, and you can take that data, harness it, and build a better personalized experience for each employee the next time they log in.
You touched on something there, and I want to go back and underscore it, and that was about engagement. Often we talk about customer experience, employee experience, and those are important, right? You think about those personalized experiences, those are very critical. But there's another step that is even more critical, and that's engagement. And engagement is a choice, right? It goes beyond an experience which is happening to you, and it really goes about to the point where that employee has to make a choice, right? Do they press that button, they get the HR policy, they now need to share that with someone else, or they're booking their travel, whatever it is. It's about that click. It's about taking that extra step. And often employee experiences fall short. They don't drive that engagement. And engagement is so critical, right? Because that's that choice. It's not what's happening to you. It's about how do I further, back to the point you made, how do I better my career? How do I find knowledge? How do I share, right? How do I share that article? Is about engagement. It's about making that choice.
Right, like 100% agree, right? Engagement and employee engagement is the measuring stick for a successful employee intranet, right? But there are some core key capabilities to make sure an intranet is successful to drive that engagement, right? First is around content, right? Content has to be meaningful, has to be relevant, and has to be timely, right? And furthermore, that content has to be easy to discover, right? Through search, we talked about chatbots earlier, right? Content has to load in context of what that employee needs. Then there are the content authors, right? For them, it has to be easy to create, has to be easy to publish, and it has to be easy to index so that it can be discovered through search. Lastly, this also means your intranet, right? It not only needs to look good through good design, but it also has to have a meaningful content architecture.
Yeah, I mean, that's critical. You just mentioned content architecture. Often when creating a customer experience, we think about content architecture. We think about different roles, responsibilities, and all of that, right? When it comes to employee experience, we don't. But it's critical that we do that. And I'm not talking about just looking at the basic information. Back to data as a currency, right? How do I look at employee interactions? How do I look at their behavioral data, the information I have about them from an employment standpoint, and create a more meaningful experience? That's the critical piece that we're trying to drive to when we start talking about the next generation of employee experience. All of that, though, comes back to probably one of the most critical parts and what creates really one of the biggest challenges when it comes to creating an employee experience that's differentiated, and that's applications. Because you are now talking about integration, you're talking about data that sits behind a firewall often. I mean, that really becomes a critical part.
Right, the apps. That's another critical capability, right? It takes an intranet to become that self-service hub, right? Also becomes that single source of the truth. Yep. The intranet needs to really take away the confusion of having multiple apps, right? Multiple logins, multiple interfaces, and really become that central repository for all self-service operations. Think about it. ServiceNow, Workday, Concur, SharePoint, on and on and on, right? All of those with unique experiences where you could streamline and build it into a single self-service experience. The reality is that every organization has different self-service apps, right? So integration becomes key. And it's not just about having one integration, but having multiple integration options. And so your intranet solution needs to provide those multiple integration choices so that it's easy to integrate into your intranet.
And it's not becoming an easier problem to solve, right? I saw something in the Wall Street Journal recently. They were looking at like a 3-year period. And I believe they're just looking at average companies. They saw a 65% increase in the amount of applications these companies were using. They're up to about 129 applications, I believe. And the average employee comes across 72 applications just to do their job, right? So this is not a small thing, right? And it's one of the reasons why companies often don't want to tackle this problem. But we may have a solution I think we can talk about, right? But it comes down to the platform and its capabilities.
Exactly. And contributing down this path of consumer experiences behind the firewall, let's talk about individual contributions. Engagement is really driven by contribution. The easier and more open it is to contribute, things as simple as liking, posting a file, commenting on it, to something as complicated as a full blog post sharing a whole new point of view, that just needs to be easy. Now, imagine the flip side, right, of a personalized feed that you hit on your homepage that is completely tailored for you, that not only shares a vlog from the CEO, but also contributes a whole bunch of end user content that is driven to you through personalization and that data that we've been talking about. Basically, it's everything that's current and important to you and your job in one view. But it requires contribution to drive the engagement, and then also the data on the back end to drive the tailored experiences.
Yeah, it's about that intelligent use of data, if I can say it that way, right? It's about understanding the interactions of employees, right? The intranets are rich with experience data about how their employees interact, not only with the content, but with each other. So you gather this information, right, about this, the employee interactions, right? How do you sort that data? How do you store it? How do you enrich that data? So now I take that data and I'm enriching it with third-party data possibly, and other sources of information that I have about the employees. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to improve that experience for that employee, right? You know, I had a use case with a customer in which they're able to discover through the use of data, right? Employees, they were trying to solve the same problem, but they're oceans and continents apart. And they're able to connect those employees. Now you do something like that, and now you're talking about changing business outcomes and also changing employee experiences, getting back to the things we talked about at the beginning. Ultimately, both of those employees feel more enriched, they're able to contribute, they feel better, they're advancing their careers, all of those things by a simple connection through the intelligent use of data. Again, data is a currency, right? It's critical to this process.
Totally, and there are some great side effects to putting this data to work, right? First of all, experts can be discovered just based on the merit of their own content, right? And then this turns into the ability to easily find subject matter experts based on what they're contributing to the internet, right? And what the outcome of that is that the most valuable content, the stuff that creates the most value to the organization, rises naturally up to the top. The outcome of this is that it flattens the organization. The best ideas, innovation, and experts float up to the top for discovery, knowledge, contribution, and in the end, the organization benefits from all this knowledge sharing.
You know, it kind of goes back to that study from Accenture. And now you can see why those companies that invest in employee experience outperform their peers and outperforms others in the S&P 500 because they're getting this contribution. They're being able to find this value that's out there that is going unseen in other companies.
Right, and this is the reason why HCL Digital Experience is the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for B2E experiences.
The leader for B2E.
The leader for B2E experiences. Let's face it, right? There are a ton of internet solutions out there in the market, but they only cover like one or two of the core capabilities. And this puts customers in a bad situation, right? They either have to pick one solution and be limited in what that internet does, or pick two or three possible solutions. And then you're stuck again with having disparate, disconnected interfaces, right? HCL Digital Experience, on the other hand, provides everything needed for a full-featured, collaborative intranet experience. We provide, first, an industry-leading set of integration capabilities.
And what about the developers? What do we do for them?
Yeah, we provide a wide range of developer tooling. Right? We have tooling for citizen developers who can now automate what used to be manual processes and turn them into self-service applications. All the way over to the full stack web developers, right? Where we give them integration options to take advantage of the latest JavaScript frameworks along with SPAs and integrate it into the digital experience.
And I know one of the bigger places where we've put in an investment, one of our key focus areas has been around simple content creation, right?
Yeah, very powerful, not only web content creation, but also the ability to target it, right? And then also to publish it at the right time to the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And I know another critical piece when it comes to internet is collaboration. You know, talk to me a little bit about our collaboration capabilities.
Yeah, collaboration tooling is critical, right? All around engagement. And that starts with, like I've said before, right? The simple things like the ability to like, share, post, but also easily integrate that capability into common productivity tools like Microsoft 365. But those are just the basics, right? We also have silo-busting open collaboration tools, things like profiles, networks, community of interests, right? All of that leads into a personalized activity stream built for you.
Now we've talked a lot about data, And now that really is where I think DX shines. Talk to me a little bit about the data capabilities.
Well, yeah, because that's core, right? And the way we look at data is twofold, right? You have your analytics that you create from usage, right? What pages and content are people viewing, but actually more importantly is the behavior analytics, right? And we take both of those things and use that to further refine, tailor, and build a better experience every next time the employee logs in.
And now that starts to feed into and kind of goes back to this data as a currency, right? How do you get the most value out of it? AI, right? It's a buzzword. How do we work with AI?
Yeah, this is where we take knowledge and data and we combine it together, right? And what that allows you to do is uncover the best content, right? Not only the best content, but the best experts and the best conversations. This is not only about experts and people finding knowledge, but actually knowledge finding people now, right? In addition to knowledge and discovery and search, there's also the concept of chatbots, right? The whole ability to take an interface and make it more conversational. AI is driving that as well.
Knowledge finding people. I'm going to use that, by the way. Ultimately, it gets down to maybe what's the best feature. We are cloud native, right? It's really cloud of your choice.
Yeah, absolutely. We have customers running in all major cloud vendors as we speak, but we also have customers who have built a competency in running their own cloud native data centers, and so we have customers who are running it in their own data centers as well. So it really is a cloud of your choice.
So we've talked about a lot of things today. Let's just kind of maybe wrap up a little bit. When I think of this conversation, and I really think about intranets and the next generation of intranets and what they need to be able to do, I really start to think about the fact that fundamentally things have changed, right? The employees are bringing experiences and their ideas of what they want in an intranet to work, and businesses need to respond to that. And there's a payoff for the business to do that. The second thing is I think about is, a lot of these changes happened with COVID, people working from home and being able to meet those needs. I have a feeling this isn't the last catastrophe that a business is going to face. Being prepared and having a intranet that meets their employee experience, it gets them ahead of anything that were to happen in the future. I also think the fact that employees are going to demand it, right? We talked a lot about that. And the fact that they need it, they want to be more productive, and there's gains for that. And that's probably the biggest reason for businesses to do that, is the gains and the efficiencies that a business will see by creating an experience for an employee, rich in data, engaging, right? Making that choice. It's going to pay off for businesses as well. And it's the reason why they should be making an investment. And the good news is HCL Software, we have a product in our digital experience product, also known as DX, that can meet those needs.